Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all fantastic. Leave a like. It helps out a lot. Thank you to everyone who is always a supporter of the channel. And without ado, that is further, Mexico's central bank has apparently been considering a central bank digital currency for more than a year now. However, the procedure is still in its early stages, making it doubtful that it will be ready for launch even by 2024. Baxico, that is Banxico, the Central Bank of Mexico, stated that the digital currency is undergoing the technological, administrative, and regulatory developments necessary for the digital peso, as per local media reports. The local government declared its intention to launch a national digital currency back in December 2021, and said in a tweet, "New technologies and next-generation payment infrastructure will increase financial inclusion in Mexico." It's actually the exact opposite, but that's neither here nor there. While that tweet indicated a 2024 launch, a year later, officials are refraining from making a launch date prediction. They said, "The result of this initial phase entails the preparation of a budget that is currently being determined." It takes 3 years to figure out a budget. Okay. And it will in turn allow establishing a probable date on which the MDBC CDBC, Central Bank Digital Currency, will actually be available. This is 2023 is supposed to be the year that nearly all or the vast majority of central bank digital currencies actually end up launching. I have a very weird feeling a lot of them probably will not launch. If they do launch, they will not be popular. People will simply not use them, as we've seen before. There are around 5 or 6 different countries, and you wouldn't even know this unless you've been watching cryptocurrency news, who have already launched their own country's stablecoin or central bank digital currency, but no one is using them. And I don't mean Venezuela. I don't think El Salvador has their own CBDC yet. There are multiple other places, even the largest one in China. It's also not a thing. They keep having like airdrops onto their citizens or giveaways to try and influence or tell people that you can use this, but nobody wants to because we already have other money, and this is just a digitized version of paper currency. So this was actually quite popular news. I'm not sure if it's because of the delay in this actually happening. Please, no, by all means, I would love LUV if every single cryptocurrency or stablecoin or digital bank currency thing all launched this year, so we can kind of get it over with, because we continuously have to wait all the time. Anyway, the point is, we've been hearing about these for a while. This is meant to be the year that they all told us years ago that they were going to be launching it. Sure, please go for it, just so they can fail a lot earlier, because we all know that none of them are going to make it. That's the Mexico Central Bank Digital Currency news. And yeah, let's move on. In what is, just icing on the already rotten cake, the SEC is now accusing both Gemini and Genesis of offering unregistered securities to retail investors. You heard that correctly. The Genesis nonsensical FTX situation just keeps getting worse. Yesterday, the United States Securities and Exchange Commission filed charges against crypto lending company Genesis and crypto exchange Gemini for offering and selling unregistered securities through Gemini's Earn program. So for those of you who have not been here, I'll give you a little rundown. Apparently, allegedly, from what we've heard, as FTX began to fall, so did every other smaller domino that was around them. One of them just happened to be another company that was called DCG, Digital Currency Group, which the Gemini twins are also angry at right now, who apparently owned or are the subsidiary company of something called Genesis. Genesis was part of Gemini in that Genesis offered Gemini the cryptocurrency earn program, where if you did something with your coins, you got stuff back for the coins you had on Gemini. Everyone with me? Probably not. The problem is that when FTX collapsed and the money other group, whatever they're called, CGB, whatever, who cares? When they collapsed and then Genesis had problems, Gemini had to stop offering their earn platform because they said that Genesis was the problem. So now they're throwing dirt on Genesis and on Alameda and on the digital currency group, saying that it was their fault, allegedly, that stopped them from being able to offer their clients money. The number that we got before was 340,000 people who are apparently affected by this. Now, hear me out here. This is very basic, simple English. As far as I understand it, Gemini's earn program has been around for, I think, at least 2 years. Everyone still with me? I find it once again hilariously weird that because FTX collapsed, now Gemini and Genesis have done something wrong. This tells me that, everyone still with me? This means that as long as this has been a platform, that is to say Gemini Earn, they have then always, according to the SEC, been offering unregistered illegal securities. Everyone still with me? Why didn't the SEC 2 years ago announce that they saw something wrong and that they were offering unregistered securities? The SEC has a really good reputation of waiting for things to collapse and then announcing that something is wrong. The point of regulators is to regulate, especially those in the United States, to make sure that American citizens are not harmed by false, air quote, financial products in some sort of way. Why didn't the regulator 2 years ago realize that something was up? Because Gemini, Coinbase, Kraken, and now Binance US are all legal entities that have to report any type of listing or whatever the case might be directly to the SEC. No one in the SEC saw that 2 years ago that something was amiss and that allegedly, even 2 years ago, Gemini and Genesis were offering unregistered securities to their clients. But it's only after everything has fallen apart because of, you understand? If they were serving rotten fruit to everyone 2 years ago, why is it only when the SEC had a bite that they smelled that the entire room was rotten? Why is it that every single time that something collapses, or it usually takes the SEC around 4 years to file a lawsuit or some type of action against the company, it feels like to me that the SEC waits for someone to do something bad, waits for enough time to go by so that they have a case against them, and then they announce that something was wrong. Wouldn't it have made sense 2 years ago for the SEC to have stepped into something like this so that 340,000 customers didn't lose their money? Yeah, see, right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. This keeps happening over and over. The SEC has realized that no one likes them. And that's not me, making a joke. It's true. Within the cryptocurrency space, within any kind of money space, apparently the SEC is literal absolute garbage. And we've been hearing that for a number of years from a number of companies and also players within the cryptocurrency space. The SEC is still using rules and laws from the literal 1920s and 1930s. That is to say, nearly or just about 100 years ago, before we even really had telephones everywhere. Nonetheless, TVs, colored TVs, knew what a keyboard was or even had personal computers or an internet or smartphones. They realize that no one likes them and that they're losing a significant amount of power when it comes to the financial world because the cryptocurrency space, what have you, so on and so forth. So they keep doing things like this. And it's not even that I'm defending the Gemini twins because I think they're excessively boring, or defending Genesis. It's more of I would love to hear the next time that a cryptocurrency exchange, any of them, especially the major ones, if they begin to offer something that the SEC look into it that day, as opposed to years later. And I'm giving the Gemini Earn program 2 years. It could have been even 4 or 5 years at this point. Now they realize that something is wrong and that consumers should have been protected. And even here's the kicker. If this does go to court and the SEC does win, do you think that any of the 340,000 people will be reimbursed? Of course not. They never do. All that money goes to the SEC. How is a corporation, an entity like this allowed to exist within the United States when it is so abundantly clear that they're corrupt? How has no one stopped them? They said, we allege that Genesis and Gemini offered unregistered securities to the public, bypassing disclosure requirements designed to protect investors that you should have warned them about. This was stated by Gary Gensler. They said today's charges build on previous actions to make clear to the marketplace and the investing public that crypto lending platforms and other intermediaries need to comply with our time-tested securities laws. These people are monsters. These people are actual monsters, and I don't understand how the American public allows things like this to continue on. So here's the actual thing from the SEC's website. It says, press release, SEC charges Genesis and Gemini for the unregistered offer and sale of crypto asset securities through the Gemini Earn lending program. Ask yourself this every single day. If FTX had never collapsed, do you think that any of this would have been a problem? Or do you think that all these systems would have still been going? All the news that we're getting is that the SEC is jumping on people's backs, saying that they offered X, Y, and Z or did so-and-so after the collapse of FTX. Imagine if FTX had those 4 extra months to make back the extra $6 billion that they said they could have done from fees on their platform, and we had never heard that FTX had fallen. Do you think that any of this would be news? Of course not. Gemini and Genesis charged by SEC with selling unregistered securities. SEC hits Genesis, Gemini with securities law violation. This was, of course, incredibly popular news. It's also very weird because if you haven't been in crypto since 2014, the Gemini twins, these two guys, they are... I mean, at one point, there was a public hearing in New York before we got the BIT license, which does nothing. They were literally begging for regulations. I have to find a nice way to say this on YouTube. They were kissing the shoes, nice way of saying it, of every single... They are probably like one of the most regulated crypto exchanges on the planet. So the fact that they got in trouble, something smells very, 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 very fishy, because this would have never happened if FTX collapsed, because everyone would have known behind the scenes everybody was making money. So you got to shut your trap. That's apparently Gemini and Genesis are in trouble with the SEC. Yeah. Let's move on. Also in the news is Binance has... Oh, I dropped my pen. Binance has been a major talking point since the downfall of FTX, both inside and outside of the cryptocurrency industry. The company and its founder, Changpeng Zhao, have been under a microscope in an attempt to keep the behemoth in line. That's a weird sentence. On the 10th of January, a tweet surfaced regarding the cryptocurrency exchange's employee policy to prevent insider trading. It claimed Binance employees of any ranking are not allowed to participate in short-term trading and must hold positions for a minimum of 90 days. Cointelegraph reached out to Binance to confirm its policy and the implications. A spokesperson from the company replied to Cointelegraph that it has a zero-tolerance policy for using insider information for profit by both employees and relevant family members. They said every employee is subject to a 90-day hold on any investments they make, and Binance's leaders are mandated to report any trading activity on a quarterly basis. This follows quite closely, not even the FTX fiasco. This has to do with the fact that recently, I believe it was an employee of a family member of Coinbase allegedly, I think, made around $10 million from what they're considering to be insider trading. And this person got in big trouble because allegedly they knew something was going to be listed. They took advantage of it, made beaucoup de dollars, and now they're, I think, in the slammer. So this is why we're hearing news like this more and more. I wish that more crypto exchanges were held to things like this. Keep in mind that we are hearing less and less about proof of reserves because crypto exchanges don't actually want you to know that they don't have all of their crypto on their websites. And also the idea of do you think that that one family member of that one employee were the only people to do insider trading for crypto? Back in 2017, we as a community usually figured out that there was going to be a new coin listing on Coinbase. Can you guess how? Because about 3 to 5 days before, that coin would pump. And I don't mean like 4 or 5%. That coin was up by 16%, then 24%, then 18%. It was going up for days and days and days. And then we always got news. Guess who's listing a new coin on Coinbase? And everyone was like, oh yeah, we knew that. We got that a while ago. Everyone understood what was happening. And a lot of times, even after the listings, the coin's price would fall, meaning that a lot of people alleged that the coin was being pumped before. It was purchased by the masses and then was also dumped by the earliest traders. So yeah. I would say good job, Binance, but this should have been something from the get-go. Why is it that, I'll say it again, why did it take FTX for all these things to finally come to fruition? Why didn't we have these protections before? Why didn't regulators care before? Why was everyone just supposed to trust cryptocurrency exchanges had all of their money? Shouldn't there have always been a 90-day period where people weren't allowed to trade? These people know when a listing is going to happen months in advance. Like the listings, I think people think that listings are random. They're not. You talk to a company and they try to set up a time in the year when they think it will be advantageous for them and their company to actually list the coin. We have an announcement in February. We have an announcement in March. We have an announcement sometime in June. If we can list our coin sometime in middle of February, we know that we can, of course, they know that these things are going to be happening months and months in advance. Anyway, so cool. I am certain, or I assume the people from Binance are probably making fairly good money working there anyway. So I don't think 90 days will be a major hindrance to them. But good job. Wonderful. Yeah. Let's move on. In actually surprising news, while the United States has the biggest share of Bitcoin's hash rate contribution and the ATM network, is anyone using Bitcoin ATMs? The city hosting the most reachable Bitcoin nodes is actually in Frankfurt in Germany. Bitcoin nodes are a distributed network of computers that run the Bitcoin software and accept a set of proof-of-work consensus values to validate and broadcast transactions on the blockchain. Of the 43,706 nodes, that, my friends, is decentralization. 43,000 validators across 134 countries. The United States has, geez Louise, 9,999, or 30% of them, while Germany actually is second with 4,529. They have 13% of all the nodes on the planet. Here's a little chart right here. Tried to make it larger for everyone in case you wanted to see. The United States has 9,999. Germany has 4,500. Third place is Canada. Fifth place is Netherlands. I'm surprised. Number 5 is Russia. Okay. Number 6 is France. Number 7 is the UK. 8 is China. And then Japan. And then number 10, and also surprising, is Finland. No part of me would have ever assumed that Finland was on any top 10 cryptocurrency doing anything list. Is just not something that entered my mind. However, when it comes to the contribution of individual cities, Frankfurt was found to have the largest number of IPv4, IPv6 Bitcoin nodes at the time of writing. Nearly 2%, or 652 nodes, remain active in Frankfurt. The U.S. city of Ashburn takes the second spot with 517 nodes as well. Cool. Wonderful. I like news like this. I always find it quite fascinating when we hear about exactly how distributed things are. This is how a chart is supposed to look. It's not supposed to be the United States has 90% of everything, because that's not decentralization. So we should have more countries on this list, at least for like more distribution. But this is still really good. This is how you protect a network. And this is why a lot of times you hear that people tend to use Bitcoin as the metric for decentralization. So we know that mathematically, XRP, Cardano, Ethereum, Shiba Inu, they have nodes and stuff around the world, but people tend to use like this hyper gigantic, like, no, you need 15,000 nodes on the planet to be decentralized, as opposed to the 300 or 400 these other coins may have. Wonderful. Keep it up. It's fascinating to hear, other countries are also in the lead, or at least in second place. And that is not just the us. Yeah. Moving along. Also in the news, at the end of January of last year, the member of the Belgian Parliament, Christophe de Boekelaer, I can't even pretend how to pronounce that. Beukeelaer, Boekelaer, okay, became the first European politician to convert his salary into BTC. Apparently, this was a celebration of the event or something like that. Back in 2022, Boekelaer, who represents the Humanist Democratic Center CDH party, cited the example of New York City Mayor Eric Adams and how American politicians are working to make their native states or cities Bitcoin hubs to justify his decision. The Brussels Member of Parliament's salary of $5,500 per month was to be converted to Bitcoin using the Bit4U crypto trading plan. That's really funny because you would assume that a member of Parliament in Brussels would be making far more than just $5,500 per month. He said that I did this political act of paying in Bitcoin to defend political ideas, citing defending financial freedom and economic opportunity, and combating financial illiteracy and growth model. The last one is perhaps the most interesting, as a lawmaker who calls himself a pragmatic environmentalist sees a clear link between Bitcoin and the environmental clause. Okay. He said, what does the central bank do when it prints money as it has done in recent years? It gives the illusion of infinite resources and thus encourages all economic actors to produce and consume more and more. That's true. That's actually the point of the system. Cool. This was relatively popular news. I think this came around the same exact time. I think Bitcoin is officially, or has been around officially, for more than 14 years. So there were a lot of news pieces of people around the world who are being paid in Bitcoin, using Bitcoin, what have you. This just happened to be one of the more popular ones. I wonder how many more people by the end of this year will be choosing to get paid exclusively in Bitcoin. Very fascinating indeed. That's the Belgian Christophe de Boekelaer, First European politician to get his salary in Bitcoin. He will not be the last news. Yeah. Let's move on. Oh, here's a really good one. Modibo R. Hamun Tukur, the director of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, or NFIU, wow, has announced that as of the 1st of March, government employees in Nigeria will no longer be able to withdraw cash from government accounts. According to the reports, the new law applies to officials at all levels of government in an attempt to reduce rampant corruption and money laundering. It's not funny. It is kind of. The new regulation is in line with the Nigerian government's plan to transition to a cashless economy. What? According to a Reuters article, Tukur's justifications of his choice are included in the report as well. The official warned that civil servants are becoming more and more vulnerable to money laundering. You don't say. Wow, that's crazy. And its predicate offenses due to their exposure to cash withdrawals from public accounts. The article cited an examination by NFIU, an independent body inside the Central Bank of Nigeria, as evidence that officials moved around $2.45 billion in cash from government accounts between 2015 and 2020. Listen, we know that every government on the planet is corrupt in some sort of way. But when you are as corrupt that you just don't care that you would move $2.45 billion, okay. As claimed by Tukur, according to the data, the majority of the withdrawals were in excess of the actual limitations. So there are a lot of countries around the world who are doing this, who are trying to transition to a more digital economy. And now this is also just being swept up in the fact that allegedly over the course of forever, there have been many countries on the planet who have been dipping their, just stealing. I don't know. You can't even say it. There's so many also like other, if you watch the news or have been watching it the last couple of years, like former French presidents. I mean, just blatantly, like they get out of power and then the courts go after them and it's like, I didn't steal the $5 billion. And they lift up their arms and like all the gold bars like fall from under their shirt. What a time to be alive. Anyway, I don't know if this will be helped. I don't know if crypto is the answer for this, but you need some more transparency. I find it so weird that government employees, like, I always assumed that if you are a government employee that everything should kind of be transparent. If you are in office to work for the people, I would assume that if you know all of our information, the government knows everything about us, that we should know about the public servants in government as well. How much money they made, how much money they moved around, how much they knew about certain stock tips or real estate buys before everyone else. Are they getting rich off the backs of everyone else? Are they moving money that should have gone to schools or to hospitals? Shouldn't that all be public knowledge? I feel like if you enter the government and after 3 years, you have like a diamond ring on and you have a whole bunch of gold chains and, you have 9 houses, somebody should be raising some questions. All right. It's just me? Okay. Let's move on. Also in dystopian news, Argentina's finance ministry is set to launch a draft bill that would essentially force citizens to declare their crypto holdings or risk paying hefty tax penalties per Errepar. That's ERREPAR. The bill has been spearheaded by Sergio Massa, the Ministry of the Economy. The draft law aims to tighten the country's money laundering rules. It would be tabled in the upcoming parliamentary session, where the ruling Frente de Todos coalition has a slender majority. The terms of the bill state that citizens would be encouraged, wink, to declare their assets, financial assets like stocks and crypto assets. How do you not already have to declare your stocks? I'm going to assume Argentina has internet. We've gotten that. Yeah. I don't think people are walking around still with paper stocks. This is in 1992. When you sign up for a stock brokerage account or for mutual funds or ETFs or whatever, you normally give your government ID. They already know who you are. The declaration would be entirely voluntary, wink, but failure to declare assets and tokens could result in an investigation by the Federal Administration of Public Revenues, or AFIP, the nation's tax body. If this is voluntary, no one's going to tell you. What's the point of them having to do you have to tell people? And I'll even say this: if you buy your partner a gold ring, a silver ring, an engagement ring that costs $50,000, should you also have to declare that as well? Do you declare when you buy gold and silver? I feel like a lot of this doesn't have to do, how do you even throw in stocks as money laundering? You have to sell the stock at some point. Even if we're in the 90s, you had to go to an office and hand you didn't mail them in. You had to give them, you could have mailed them in. You had to hand them to someone. And they would then take your ID and your info if you made over a certain amount, and they would give that information to the government. What are they talking about? I'm so confused. While crypto assets declared on these voluntary forms would be subject to a tax rate of 2.5%, those who wait and they basically find out you were lying, you could pay up to 10%. Okay, this is kind of stupid. I mean, this would just go into stupid news then. I mean, there's no other real reason for this. I wonder about the way that world leaders rule, or what they do, or how people think in certain situations. Why would anyone, if it's voluntary, why would they declare this to you? And if they didn't, through something was voluntary, that's like saying hey, everyone, it's voluntary that after school you can go play sports, but if you don't, you get detention tomorrow. I feel like I'm missing. Maybe there just is no logic, and I'm simply digging far too deep. That's the Argentina is trying to basically get people to tell them how much crypto they have. The world is so dystopian. It's so weird. Why do you care what people have? Do you know the idea of money laundering comes down to the fact that countries are afraid of so much money leaving their economy that their economy would basically collapse? So they make laws that you can't take out more at one time to move to another place or move to another country, because you would essentially be strengthening that other country. Imagine if all the citizens in Argentina took all their money out, all their money, and moved to Italy and bought up property there. What do you think would happen to Argentina's economy and to Italy's economy? It's very, very weird how the world has formed and all the things that take place. That's the sure, why not news. Go for it. I don't think anyone's going to be going for this. All right. Or they'll simply be moving. Why would you stay there if you have money? All right. Moving along. Yeah. I hopeth that you've all enjoyed. I hope that you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening. Wherever you are, wherever you might be, I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you to everyone who left a like, who has commented even multiple times, has subscribed, or supports the channel in their own way. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. Ciao.